Good morning, members of the Council and of the public. Today, I'd like to bring forth my contribution regarding policy interventions we can use to combat the negative effects brought about by an increasing number of Airbnbs in our local area. So the first negative externality that has arisen is an increase in the price of long-term rentals in the area. This has occurred due to the fact that Airbnbs are extremely profitable in both the long and the short term, meaning that many landlords have taken their properties out of the long-term rental market and put them into the Airbnb market, which obviously has decreased the supply in the long-term rental market and therefore led to an increase in prices in that market. The second externality is a social one, in that the areas around Airbnbs can often be disrupted by the increased tourist traffic, leading to a declining quality of life in those areas. And this can actually also extend to a monetary concern in that the property prices in those areas can actually go down because they come to be seen as undesirable places to live. But before I suggest policy interventions, I'd just like for you to keep in mind that there are positive externalities associated with Airbnbs as well. First and foremost of these is the fact that Airbnbs, being so affordable and so authentic, increase tourist traffic in the area where they are located, which means increased tourist revenue and economic stimulation for the overall economy and for local businesses. And so I think that we should avoid things which will harm the tourism aspect of the Airbnbs. So we shouldn't use a direct tax on the profits of Airbnbs to disincentivize landlords from putting their properties into Airbnbs, because this might cause some of the landlords to put their properties back into the long-term rental market, but more than likely, the landlords will just raise the prices of their Airbnbs, meaning that they pass the cost of the tax on from themselves to the consumer, leading to less affordable Airbnbs, leading to less tourist traffic and lower tourist revenues overall. Instead, we should use a more gentle approach, one of which could be a density restriction, quoted by any other name, which means that there must be fewer Airbnbs in any area, or a location restriction, which means that some areas become entirely off limits to Airbnbs. We could use this in areas with schools, residential areas, places like that, so we can keep the externalities confined to tourist hotspots where their impact is felt less keenly. We can also go outside of the actual Airbnb market and address the underlying issues which make rent a problem. We can look at investment properties in the area which sit unused and introduce a law or regulation which forces those properties to be put onto the market, increasing the supply on the long-term rental market and easing the upward pressure on prices. So as a whole, when we're considering how we can deal with the Airbnb issue, we should consider options that preserve the positive externalities while reducing the negative externalities. It's a delicate balancing act, and we can discuss them more when we take my ideas to the higher levels of Parliament. Thank you so much for listening.